if he does the heavy karma, then he's going to be swallowed up by the earth, or his head is going to split into 7 pieces, etc., etc. He's going to be beyond the help of even a Buddha. So the Buddha has to find a way to intervene to stop him killing his mother, so that he still will have some hope. Because what the Buddha saw in his meditation is that this guy Angulimala has the potential for enlightenment. So the Buddha went to Angulimala and appeared in between Angulimala and his mother. His mother was actually coming out to warn him that the king and the army are coming. She didn't want her son to be captured by the king. When Angulimala saw the fingers of the Buddha, what's special about the fingers of the Buddha? All the same length, very beautiful. And he forgot his mother completely. He thought, this is the sort of finger I want for the 1,000th finger on my necklace. So immediately he set out running after the Buddha with his sword above his head. And the Buddha appeared to Angulimala walking slowly away. But no matter how fast Angulimala ran, he could never catch up with the Buddha, who apparently was walking at a very slow pace in front of him, until eventually he was so covered with sweat and so irritated that he called out to the Buddha, "Stop, monk, stop." And the Buddha said to him, "But I have stopped. It's you who have not stopped." And Angulimala said, "This can't be true. I've been running as fast as I can and I still can't catch up with you. How can you call that stopped?" And the Buddha said, "The reason I say I have stopped is because I have stopped doing evil things. I am beyond doing evil things, etc., etc. But you have not stopped. You are still killing people. You are still versed in aggression." And when the Buddha said these words to him, he suddenly realized how mistaken he had been all these years. He threw away his sword and asked the Buddha to take monkhood. The Buddha allowed him to do this, and within a very short period of time, even though his principal karma was killing 999 people, quite heavy karma, but not heavy karma, okay, because he didn't kill his mum. But he had the very extremely good terminating karma of having become enlightened as an arahant, which put an end to any form of retribution which he might receive as a result of the aggressions which he had done. So he wasn't going to be reborn anymore. Because of this terminating karma, he got away with it. Okay. In fact, he did have a little bit of bad karma. People threw rocks and stones at him every time he went for his arms round, and his bow broke. So he did have some karma coming back to him, but much less than normally we would expect for someone who had done so much damage throughout his life. So this is an example of how terminating karma can work. If it wasn't possible to break free of our past, then it would be a bit of a waste of time practicing Buddhism. But the Buddha explains that it is possible to make a break with our past, no matter how bad it may be. It's a question of time. In your notes you find 3 brief questions which you might like to test yourself on. Examples of karma. And see if you can identify those acts of karma in 3 different ways. That is, whether they're wholesome, unwholesome, or neutral. How heavy the karma is, whether it's heavy, close to death, habitual, or unintentional karma. And also how the karma is working in combination. See if you can do that. First example is, a person has done meditation every day without fail throughout their life. So what is that? It's a habit, right? Is it positive, neutral, or negative? Positive. It is the deciding factor in their afterlife destination. So wholesome. If it's at the moment of death, then what would we call it? Dying karma. And if it is the main deciding factor in where they're going after their death, then it would be the principal or janaka karma. So it would be the blue arrow in our diagram. Get the idea? So should we take a look at the second one? Maybe it's Angulimala. A robber who has killed and plundered all his life meditates and becomes enlightened before his bad deeds catch up with him. So, killed and plundered all his life, but becomes enlightened. Well, killing and plundering is unwholesome. Becoming enlightened is wholesome. Becoming enlightened is heavy, but in a good sense, okay? And it is terminating what was normally becoming to him from his habitual karma. Third example, an intelligent person habitually teases and distracts others who are poor in their studies. Later he finds despite his intelligence, that his memory is failing him. So habitually teasing others is negative. It is habitual. Despite his intelligence, so this means there's some opposition, so it's going to be either obstructing or terminating. Well, it's not quite terminated, has it? So it must be obstructing karma. So far, so good. Some people make mistakes in the way they use the law of karma. And one famous example of this was the then coach for England football team called Glenn Hoddle, who is purportedly a Buddhist. And there was something in the news about mentally handicapped people. And Glenn Hoddle made the comment that, according to the law of karma, there's no need to have sympathy for mentally handicapped people because they are just drunkards from a previous lifetime. And of course, the newspapers had a great deal of fun saying that all Buddhists are stupid and lack compassion, etc., etc. What he said is actually true according to the law of karma, that those people who drink habitually, at the end of their cycle of their karmic retribution, they tend to suffer from mental handicap. But do you think that was a nice thing for him to say? No. And the reason why this is an abuse of the law of karma is that instead of using the law of karma to point forwards with a forward-looking arrow, he used it to point backwards. He was speculating about how the results of what certain people had done in the past was affecting them in the present day. And according to Buddhism, this is not a useful way to use the law of karma. How we should use the law of karma is to use it to reflect on the things we are doing in the present time, to make sure that it's not going to bring us suffering in our future. As for speculating about how what happens to us now may have been caused by things we did in the past, that is mere speculation. It's speculation because we don't know how many different factors were involved in giving the outcome. It may be 1 or 2 forms of karma, it may be 10 forms of karma from different lifetimes which we can't remember. Unless you are enlightened, there's no way of making any form of conclusion about this. What we can do is use it to warn ourselves in advance before we do things which are likely to cause us suffering in the future. So law of karma is useful, but if you are going to use it to analyze, we can do it for ourselves. And sometimes it helps us to be more patient when bad things happen to us, because we know that we don't have anyone to blame but ourselves. Sometimes it helps us to be more patient if we are on a run of bad luck. But we should never go so far as to use karma to blame other people for their actions. Because in some places, it can lead to very uncompassionate behaviors. If we meet a person who has cancer, instead of having sympathy for them, we'll say, well, you deserve it because you must have been a prostitute in your previous lifetime. That's not a very kind sort of thing for a Buddhist person to say to anyone else. What the person needs is sympathy, not a lesson about the law of karma. So if you know the law of karma, you should also know how to apply it so that it's useful.